But it was the numbers that came out once the budget was known that left us all shocked. Do you guys want to give us a bit of a recap?
Yeah, so basically, we hosted the African Games in 2024, March. Was hosted between March 13 and March 24, I believe.
All right, so almost 2 years ago.
Yes, March 8 to March 24. And, you know, that competition was supposed to have been held in August of the previous year. But when the time came, we were not ready. So they had to push back the competition, I think, by 8 months or so. And we got the rights to host this competition all the way back in 2018, thereabout, a long time ago. And we didn't start preparing for the competition. In fact, we got the right in 2017.
No, it was 29th October 2018.
2018, okay.
It was a Thursday.
So when we started to make preparations, just around the time COVID hit. And so it delayed the project a little bit. I think Isaac Esiama was then sports minister. And then once COVID was over, we sped up with the preparations. But even with that, as of 2022, we still didn't have any single infrastructure available. So the idea at the beginning was that we were going to build a brand new Olympic stadium, 50,000 capacity in Borteyman, which will serve as the venue and the center of the games. But the timelines we were running behind schedule, and they thought that it would need more time to complete the stadium. So they changed the plans, and instead of building a fully equipped stadium to host the games, they decided that it was better to build some adjoining facilities at Borteyman and then renovate others across the country to complement the facilities that we put up at Borteyman to host the game. They called it the hybrid approach. So for the first time in the history of the games, we ended up hosting the games in two cities, in Cape Coast and in Accra. In fact, originally they had said three, but in the end, we used two cities. Football was played in Cape Coast, and then in Accra, we used Borteyman, which had the swimming, the tennis court, and all of those things. And then we used the University of Ghana Stadium, which had the athletic track and also a football pitch. And we had a rugby field at University of Ghana as well. And then we used a lot of different halls. Conference Center ended up hosting table tennis, which was supposed to have been hosted in Borteyman. One of the reasons that one was also built. Football in Cape Coast, and then University of Ghana had rugby, weightlifting, and all of those other athletics in particular. It hosted some football matches too. And then the street obviously hosted a cycling competition. The Amasaman Highway hosted a cycling competition. So many things happening around the city at the same time. But I think the reason people had major issues with the organization of the games wasn't just where or what was happening. It was how much was involved in what was happening. So basically, what you need to understand is that the African Games expenditure can be split into two. Those that would go into infrastructure, and the aspect of the money that went into operations. And the operations would involve quite a lot of other things, so we'll explain shortly. But the infrastructure basically comprised a number of key facilities. There are so many others, but there are three key facilities that have raised eyebrows. We spent $145 million to build the Borteyman Sports Complex, which comprises 4 domes. And those 4 domes, one is an open one that is used to host like wrestling competitions and what have you. Then we have a tennis court which has a seating capacity of 1,000 and has adjoining training tennis courts as well. And then we have an indoor dome where we hosted volleyball competitions, and then we have the one where we hosted the swimming competition, so the aquatic center. $145 million flat. The University of Ghana Stadium, we spent $34 million in completing it. That was another facility where per previous interviews from the people managing the facility, like the former director of the University of Ghana Sports Directorate, Dr. Bella Bitugu, who had said that the stadium was around 80 to 90% complete in the previous interview. And they had been in charge of this stadium since 2004. The government went in and then they said that they needed $34 million to complete the stadium that was at 80% or 90% complete based on what the managers of the facility had said in the past. And that 34 million went into, I'll give you the scope very shortly.
What was the total budget for the stadium project originally? How much was it supposed to cost to complete?
I think when
the
they
whole
started
stadium?
the project back in 2004, supposed to have taken around 4 million.
4 million.
Before started that project, I went to University of Ghana in 2006. I went to meet it. I left it. It still wasn't done. Now, and we'll put that into context for you to understand, because in the same time, like in 2016, we spent 32 million or so in building the Cape Coast Stadium from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that for you to reference. And only last year, or was it 2 years ago, Takwa Goldfields built a full stadium in Takwa for 60 million from scratch. So that's
That was actually 13 million.
so there's that one too that you can reference. Obviously, the scopes are different. Those ones don't have tracks.
But this one, to complete some 20% remaining,
yes,
it cost $34 million.
Yes, please, thank you. And then you have to look at the Games Village. So I was talking about the three aspects of the major infrastructure where a lot of the money went into. The money went into some other places, like with the hockey. We had to relay the hockey turf. That came with its own issues, and then we had to do cricket over at Achimota. That came with its own issues as well. And then we had a rugby field. So there were so many other small adjoining facilities, but these are the major ones where the biggest money went to. So Borteyman, 145 million. University of Ghana Stadium, 34 million. And then the Games Village, which was also not built from scratch. The diaspora halls, as they call them in the University of Ghana, say Kwapon, Liman, they decided that instead of building accommodation from scratch, they would go there and then refurbish those facilities to host around 5,000 athletes that we were expecting. And what was the scope of work that needed to be done there? The African Games required that every single accommodation facility should have air conditioning and should have water heating, because this is basic. You're hosting people from different temperature zones all around the continent coming. So these things are necessary. And you also needed to, make it look nice. So maybe fix new curtains, maybe new liver blades, I don't know. But you needed to do those things. And that one too was $16 million.
$16 million.
$16 million.
So about 170 million cedis.
Yes, to fix air conditioners. They fixed around 1,600 air conditioners, and then they fixed water heaters in all the rooms, all the showers, and then they got new mattresses. Obviously,
how many air conditioners?
1,600.
So we're talking about 1,600 rooms, give or take.
Give or take, exactly. And then they put up the temporary tent that they use for they use as a canteen just beside there, so that the athletes could go there and eat. And then I think they put up another one as a temporary medical facility. So basically that's where all the money went to in terms of infrastructure. And then you have the aspect of the money that went into operations. At the time, obviously, as things stand now, we don't know how much money they actually spent on operations, but per the minister, he said they needed $47 million to do operations. This is what he said. So I repeat, we don't know how much they actually got or actually spent, but he said they required $47 million to do operations. And the aspects of the operations budget, I just tell you some of the spending cost items in terms of operations. Hotels, They engaged over 40 hotels to accommodate delegates. Remember, the athletes are at the Games Village, but we needed to accommodate other delegates at various hotels in the country. So we engaged over 40 hotels for that, part of that. Then there's transportation, because we needed to rent buses and rent saloon cars for delegates and what have you. Then there were equipment for athletes that also would go into the operational cost. Then there was the games management system, aka accreditation, which many people had issues with. We spent around $4 million on that. And then there's food, which was another one of the issues that became very profound after the games. $15 million to feed what they had, or they've told us, were 12,000 people.
So were they feeding those in the hotels as well?
That's a good question. And those are the reasons why these things need to be probed. Because the 12,000 people that they say they fed include all the people that also stayed in the hotels. Because that would be the total number of delegates that came for the African Games. So if only 5,000 of them were at the University of Ghana hostels, and then you also have volunteers who were coming in on a daily basis, the rest of the people that stayed at the hotel, how did you feed them? And if you did, how many meals did you give them per day? Because the standard figure they are giving us is that they fed 12,000 people 4 meals per day for, they said 20, they said something days, right? Instead of 18.
So they started feeding them from 27th before some people arrived early. And they ended on 26.
12,000, obviously, right?
Yeah, not the whole 12,000.
So let's just work on averages. Let's use the number
actually,
of days of the event.
The total number of people per what they said it did was 12,923 people, right? And per the agreement that they signed, the hotels too had a responsibility of feeding the people. So, according to some documents that I was able to chance on after the LOC had the press engagement last year. Okay, so let me just go through this thing pretty quick, so that we'll have a proper appreciation of what actually happened. So this was it. Accommodation service was $2,238,500. Accreditation games management system was $2.9 million. Fan zones and youth camp was $65,625. Ceremonies and entertainment was $4.6 million. Transport service was $966,000. Games family, that's per diem, was $44,100. And games family effort was $175,000. Then they came all the way up to broadcasting, where they said was $5 million. So
the food, the 50 million, is it there?
Yeah, it's 15,106,875.
Not 50 million, 15 million.
15 million.
15. Okay, I just want to do the maths quickly, because the thing is, I want to do some quick maths here.
Okay, so this was what happened. L&M Services Company were those engaged to provide the food. And what they also did was that they engaged people. I was made to understand they engaged about 400 people to work with. They also decided to subcontract the likes of Tasty Trees and Capitol Restaurant to provide the food services. But one thing, I don't know, sometimes it's quite interesting. I don't know what I found you. You've been to Capitol to eat breakfast before. How much will it cost to eat breakfast at Capitol?
I don't know, Muftar. You have been.
Kojo is the big man. Kojo, how much does it take to take breakfast at Capitol?
I haven't eaten breakfast at Capitol before. Please don't try and put me into trouble here.
No, but actually, what I'm actually trying to put across is that, or establish, is that because of the kind of companies that they engaged, sometimes you would look at these figures and go like, okay, if I were to take breakfast at Capitol, maybe let's say it will cost me 200 Ghana cedis or even more. There's lunch, there's supper. And at the time, the dollar was around 13 cedis. So if that was what they actually did, I'm just assuming, if that was what they actually did, what it meant was that they were going to feed one person. Let's say breakfast is 200, lunch is 300, let's say dinner is 400. They were going to feed each person around 1,000 Ghana cedis or less, or even more. And if you multiply that by 12,923 people, it will give us a certain figure. But one of the things that I actually was looking at was the fact that the people were fed differently. It wasn't everyone. So let's say someone who was a minister, someone who was an ambassador, someone who was a technical official, the kind of meals they gave those people was different from what they gave to the athletes. So athletes and officials were 7,521 people. So let's say, and in fact, volunteers were 3,000 people. So you and I, Samuel Dame and myself, who were supposed to chop the small food. So they were like on like $6 or $7 or even $12. That's how they capped it. And then the big people, they were on like the big figure, like the $50, the $60 and those things. So all in all, per what they were able to compete together, they believe that they spent about 15,106,000.
Mufta, hold on. Hold on. Now, if you go outside the country, there are hotels that would charge you $150, $200, some $100, and it includes breakfast.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That includes breakfast.
Yes.
You said that people were here for how long?
16 days.
16 days.
16 days.
But
there were people who arrived earlier, which was on 27th of February.
We have to work with averages because we can't.
So
for all of these.
averagely it's 21 days per what they were put.
Okay, no problem. 21 days.
Yes, 21.
Average of 21 days.
Yes.
You see,
I'm
this
confused.
is Winston. This is something that we need to understand, and I'm glad Mufti
Why
has
average? Why is the average more than the duration of the event?
Mufti, thank you for that. This is what we need to do. I think that we need to understand certain things. For example, and ask the right questions with regard to all these expenditure so that we are not fixated on only the food.
Oh, no, I'm going to do all of that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say that. I was going to say that.
Focus
So I
on
was
the
going to
food.
put something across regarding the food. That whatever amount that they say they spent on food, 15 million plus coins and change. Anybody doing the forensic investigation auditing needs to establish two things. Number one, and I've had these questions for a long time. So my number one question, Winston, as Muftar pointed out, some people started to arrive early, but the same way people left earlier.
Precisely.
So you cannot just put a blunt figure out and say that you did it over a certain fixed number of days. That's not true. I'll give you an example. Table tennis happened over the first 2 days. After the first 2 days, every table tennis player was gone back home.
Okay.
Swimming happened in the first week. I did commentary for swimming. After swimming, every single country that brought a swimmer, every swimmer left and went home. So they were not here for that second week.
So in effect, what you're telling us is that it cannot be the case.
It can't be the case
that we would calculate for all the people who were here.
And by the
Over,
fixed number
over,
of
a
days.
over a 2 week or 3 week period.
No.
Because in most of the instances, say table tennis, they compete and some of the disciplines that were in the latter stages of the people
came later. Even our own athletes, athletics was in the last week of the competition. Some of our athletes started to arrive in camp a little later.
In fact, I remember Azamati came later.
Yes, long after the games had started.
Okay.
So athletes came and left. Others came much later. So they were not all here for the fixed number of days. So if you do any math and you tell us that you fed this number of people fixed, 12,000 athletes or 12,000 delegates, and you fed them for 21 days, that cannot be correct.
Okay, so while the total number, 7,000 officials and others,
7,521
officials and athletes.
Athletes and officials.
Athletes and officials. For purposes of analysis, let's round it up to 8,000. The number 8,000, it cannot be said that the 8,000 stayed in Ghana for the 21 days.
Exactly.
That's not possible.
For volunteers, we can say they did. The volunteers 3,000. They were here the whole time, right?
So and we're feeding the volunteers too.
Yes, sir. We're feeding volunteers.
So volunteers to 3,000.
Yes.
So let's make it 11,000. Purposes of analysis.
And then officials, big men.
But it cannot be
Media.
said
Yes.
that it was over a 21-day period.
That's what I need
Because
to
people
establish.
showed up 2 days left. Some came later. And so
Some of the countries crowd came, didn't participate and left. South Africa came, the hockey turf wasn't ready. They got angry.
and they left.
And they left. You have
So-
added their number that you fed them for 21 days.
okay. Mufta, you said that the average cost
Yes.
for breakfast was $6.
Yes, that was the no, it wasn't breakfast. So what they did was that I was just citing the example of, say, let's say if you go to places like Capitol, Tasty Trees. I'm just referring to the
No problem.
the company
Okay.
they sub license.
Okay,
To, yeah.
okay. So these were given licenses to prepare.
Yeah,
Yes.
to
Now, okay. So are we so purpose of analysis?
Yes.
Purpose of analysis. If it is 11,000, okay. If you divide $15 million, let's do it this way: $15 million by 11,000. Okay.
$1,363
Dollars.
and 63 cents.
So we're saying that 1,363. Let's just take it out. Let's make it $1,300. Again, for purposes of analysis. Let's not,
Per person.
per person.
Divide by the number of days they were here.
No, so it's as per person. Yes, divided by 21. So that means that no, for purpose of analysis. Purpose of analysis. Don't worry.
I would have gone with 16
Oh, no, don't
because
worry.
we have accepted that some people came early, some people left early. I would have gone with the 16, which is the duration of the event.
To cater for
Don't worry.
plus or minus.
Yes, to cater for the plus or minus.
Don't worry, we'll get there. So yes, we're saying that okay, in a day we spent $64 on every athlete or
On
the
every
person,
person,
every
every
person,
delegate.
every
Every
delegate
delegate.
who came for the All Africa Games.
Yes.
$64.
Yes.
But this is what I also know. Many of these persons came and left early.
Yes.
fact.
And then came later.
So probably between 8 to 10 days will be
Yes,
the period.
yes, yes.
8 to 10 days.
It's how much they fed each person.
Each person. So I'm going to go for half.
I wanted us to
Exactly.
go.
But you see,
Okay,
for
so
purposes of
no,
analysis.
so Winston,
Let me finish. Let me finish. For purpose of analysis. So if I divide this by 8, we're saying that every day we fed each person with $170. Now, for purposes of analysis, let's multiply this by 13. That is 2,215 per person
For the duration.
for the duration. A day. He ate 2,215 Ghana cedis.
Now, and let
Who haba?
Winston, so here's my second
Okay,
issue.
thank you, finish.
Here's my second issue on the food.
Every day.
Yeah. Here's my
1,000 cedis.
So I said that on the food matter, that was the first one. We needed to establish that the people were not there for a fixed period. Some came. The second issue, and this one is the most critical one, is that every
Well,
single
the most
country,
critical one, please hold on. Hold on.
We've already done some analysis of some of the line items that cost millions and millions of dollars, according to the budget that we got informed of. But we were talking about the food alone, right? And the numbers were baffling. 15 million, more than 15 million spent on food. And then the numbers were not numbering. We were trying to add up, how many people had to be fed over what period of time, and it just wasn't working for $15 million to have been spent. But just before the break, Fentuo was about to tell us what is the most perplexing detail about how much money we spent on these things. Fent.
Yes. So I was going to say that, and this is something I've never really understood, that the money we spent on food is actually not money that should have come from our taxes or the operational cost that the Ghanaian taxpayer contributed to the games. This is because per the African Games protocol, every country sending a delegate to the competition, so an official, a coach, an athlete, they pay $85 per person per day to the hosting country.
Per person per day.
Yes. To the hosting country. $85. That money is supposed to go towards boarding and feeding of their delegate. Every country pays. We've participated in previous African Games. The delegation that we took there, we paid that money for them to the hosting nation. All the countries that came to Ghana to participate in the African Games. If you brought 5 people, you paid $85 per person per day. So we need to discover and find out how many of those countries actually paid. Because I'm stating this knowing that maybe some people didn't pay.
Or
how
maybe,
much money?
or maybe we give them something special, come for free.
Thank you. So how much money was realized from that? And what did we use it for? Because we know that the budget for the food came directly from the Ghanaian taxpayer. When the people who are participating in the games pay the fee towards that. So that money, apart from that, we took sponsorship money. In fact, we wrote a letter from the presidency to corporate institutions seeking for sponsorship. Goyle, all these companies paid money to the LOC towards the organization of the games. What did they use that money? How much was realized from that? And what did they use it for? I'm very interested in the answers to these questions.
But you see, the point you make...
Okay, so just a quick one.
Mm-hmm.
Per what I have here in their income statement, about $15 million was realized from revenue from sponsorship.
Alone?
Yes.
$16 million.
16 million. Yeah.
Okay. So, Wilson.
Yeah, so you raise a very important point. So it is the expectation
Yes.
of these people that their feeding and other things cost $85 a day.
Mm-hmm. Feeding and boarding.
Feeding and boarding should cost them $85 a day. Okay. So that's what we should be using for the calculation.
Because African Union owns the games. They came up with that figure.
And because you see, the general expectation is that when you host the games, you're going to benefit. You pay the AU before you host. We paid $2 million to host this.
We paid a fee to AU to host the
Yes,
games.
we paid a fee to the AU to host this.
Yes. Yes. And you see, Winston, so look, this conversation about the food, for me, like the operational budget in itself and all of the issues that came after, that's the reason we should be asking all these questions. And I'll just run you through them.
How much did we spend on broadcasting again?
For $5 million.
5 million.
On broadcasting. And out of that $5 million,
$5 million.
yes, $5 million. That also became a major issue because out of that $5 million, the GBC, who were the broadcasters of the event, said they only benefited $105,000. That also became a major issue. If you remember, the minister and the GBC director were at loggerheads, and the GBC director had to come and issue a statement and apologize for stating that they only got $105,000. So the rest of the $5 million, where did it go to? Producers from France, some other local producer. There's a whole list. I have it. If I had time, I'll pull it out of how much every other person benefited in the chain of the production of the African Games. But we expended $5 million in that. And then there is the issue of the accreditation. Now we'll get to the internet. The accreditation system is called the Games Management System. The games management system, it's supposed to be this elaborate system that would give us accreditation, access control, all the stats and the data on all the athletes. Everything should be in there. Muftar read the figure. 2.9 million is how much we paid for it. But guess what? Now, this accreditation system is supposed to come with even all these security features, including access control. You've been to multiple international events. When you are accredited for the games, before you enter where you are supposed, your accreditation allows you to, it is scanned. That's access control. So all of our accreditation, including media, the athletes, everybody's accreditation should have had that feature because that's what we paid for. But what did we get? Accreditation printed on A4 sheet. That is what we got. Yes. So where was the access control?
And sorry to our brother that quickly, but when he was going to print, thieves broke into his car and took away his stuff.
And took away his laptop. The media officer. So listen, Kojo, we paid $2.9 million for a system, a games management system that included a key aspect of it was the accreditation system, which should come with access control and all of this. We didn't have access controls, and the accreditation that we printed for all the athletes and the officials and the media people didn't have any security feature. It was printed on A4 sheet. You understand? So, and in the end, and this is even my thinking. In the end, we did the games with our A4 sheet accreditation. So, in hindsight, we didn't need that aspect of the system. So, why did we pay for it?
You see, Fentio, and
if we paid for it, where is it?
We paid for it. Why don't we use it?
Kojo, this is where my challenge is. And we've had this conversation before, where I was saying that when you go to buy a product, they give it to you with every single feature available, and we tell you this is the price. You will pay for it. If you're not able to use an aspect of it, it is not their fault. It is not their doing.
And that's why nobody has blamed Atos. We are saying the people who paid for it and said, this is what we need. Why didn't you use it?
In other words, they were not able to use it.
So we gave it financial loss to the state. So let's go on.
So the answer to my question is that we actually did pay a company for this.
Yes.
Yes.
The company provided it.
Yes.
We didn't use it.
Exactly. So if and we didn't use it and we still run the games. So it means in hindsight we didn't need it. So why did you pay for it if you didn't need it?
And so the forensic auditors will have to ask people to bring back money.
That's one. We spent $5 million on internet. As for the $5 million on internet service at all the venues, we said we spent $5 million. In fact, the Kwapon, the diaspora hall's internet there was $40,000 just for the athletes there for those days that they were there. Okay.
So where did we spend the rest? Where did we?
The stadium. They said there was internet at the stadium. There was internet at conference center when the table tennis was there for 2 days. There was internet at Borteyman. Was all of it $5 million.
Bukom Boxing Arena.
All of it $5 million.
Who provided the internet for these?
The internet service providers. And Muftar is the one with the contract document. You can tell us who got that contract.
No, the contract document I have is the stadium at Legon, and if it's okay,
But you see,
who provided the internet at the stadium?
Hey, Kojo, why are you so interested in it?
You want me to be invited to come and answer questions?
Kojo, let's move on.
Isn't that what we do here?
So regarding the these are some of the issues. So regarding the stadium that we completed for 34 million, the truth is that there's so many things wrong with that stadium. It shouldn't be a stadium completed in 2024 with 34 million spent, and we still have the issues that we have. Look, if you look at the University of Ghana Stadium, and you look at how much, for example, the cost of that floodlight, not the floodlight, the screen that we have, the LED screen there alone, costs around $400,000. It's not even functional. We didn't have a media center at the University of Ghana Stadium. You spent 34 million to complete a stadium in 2024, and the stadium has no media center. How can you tell me this story?
Okay, so per the contract I have,
we spent 34 million on 20% of a stadium. You have to
and
say
it still
properly.
doesn't have fundamental basic facilities that we could have added with that money. We were supposed to relay the pitch at the University of Ghana Stadium. It was part of the contract for that money. We didn't relay the pitch. You go to use the hostels that we use for the games that we spend 60 million on. And this is my challenge. Because when you host multi-purpose games like this, Paris, okay, and just 2 days ago, I did a story on how Paris transformed the Olympic Games village into affordable housing project. A whole new community was built for that. We decided that we were not going to solve a problem with the African Games that we had, because it was an opportunity for us to solve a problem. If we're even going to build new facilities on campus, we could have created new accommodation on campus and solved a perennial issue of accommodation on campus. Instead, we went and spent 60 million renovating 4 halls, and we ended up creating more problems than solutions. And this is what I say. So they increased the university, the hostel fees there on the basis that they've renovated them. Okay, cool. So the students ended up paying more. What are the facilities that were added? You added 1,600 air conditioners at those 4 halls. 1,600 air conditioners. They are barely in use. And the last time I tried to investigate this and spoke to the University of Ghana Enterprises Limited, UGL, the managers of the facility, they told me that the reason they haven't been able to use the air conditioners is because they need a billing system for all the rooms. In other words, they need to procure meters for all the rooms so that they can effectively bill every room to your air conditioner use. So where was the futuristic thinking in putting this together? Then we install water heating. Hot water, cold water. The students have been there since then. Nobody has used hot water, cold water since then. But
All
you're
right.
charging them more.
This is the thought I want to leave in everybody's mind. So if they bought 1,600 air conditioners, that means that there are around about 1,600 rooms
That they used.
in the place, right? Okay. And they spent 16 million on this project. That means they spent $10,000 per room.
Okay, no, not entirely that. Per what I have here is they used about 12 million on the ACs that Fentio was talking about, and then also 1 million was used for fencing. They used about just a moment. I have the document here. Okay, so 12 million was used for the upgrading of the air conditions. They said for upgrading of 4 hostels. 12 million was used for upgrading. 1 million was used for temporary cafeteria. Fencing was $283,000. General conditions and prelims what was 1.3 million. Design services was $444,000. $85,000 was for enquiries to persons and property, as well as insurance. $24,000 was temporary water for the works, and $30,000 was temporary lighting and power for the works.
It comes to
$40,000 temporary internet service.
it comes to $10,000 per room.
Yes, basically that's what you're
Yes.
saying.
Everything you've said, it comes to $10,000 per room.
Oh, the first thing they did was outside. It was I don't want to
Yeah,
mention
but
the name
you
of the company.
still have, I'm saying that if you split the cost of it across all the people they accommodated there, it's $10,000 per room. Even the communal areas, the fencing and the cafeteria things, if you split the whole amount across the rooms, it's $10,000 per room.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Horticulture and pavements, $118,000. You
Charlie,
understand?
It's okay.
So-
this is the limit to which my blood pressure medicine will work this morning.
Yeah.
Let us not take it further.
Yes, here's one comparison for you. Here's one one quick one for you. Okay, if you look across to the University of Professional, University
UPSA.
of Professional
Studies
Studies
Accra.
Accra, UPSA. They built brand new 10-floor hostels, 2 of them, for 3,250 students. And they built them from scratch. Okay, 10 floors each. They built them from scratch in 2022. And per the University of Professional Studies Accra's website, they spent a little over $9.9 million
Cities.
dollars on building 2 10-floor hostels from scratch to accommodate 3,250.
And we spend almost double that renovating
Yes,
1,600 rooms.
for maybe 1,500 more people.